Hey everybody, it's Professor Snart. Quick video check-in here, geared really more to Unit 1 in our class, but this might be the first thing that you happen to see just because we're in the announcements area. So if you're just getting to our course for the first time and you're here watching this video, that's great because it's good that you're kind of checking into the announcement, but I want you to stop and actually go backwards a little bit and go into the orientation read me first area if you haven't checked that out, and kind of look at that video. It's a little bit longer, but it's a more global look at our course and how things are laid out and where to find certain pieces of information, kind of that bigger picture. So if you're just popping into the course here for the first time, stop this video, go do the orientation stuff. There's a little quiz there that you can do as well. And then come back and catch yourself up with this one. So for our purposes here, we're going to remind ourselves of due dates. If you've looked at that orientation one, you would have noticed that I had the wrong due date sheet loaded in here, but it's up to date now, of course. So just a quick reminder, always, of course, looking at the actual due date that we're coming up on. So everything in Unit 1 due on Thursday, by Thursday, August 23rd. That's sort of like end of the day, right? And we'll look at Unit 1 in just a sec. And then anything that involves like a reply beyond initial posts or initial work would be due Sunday, August 26th. So there's always that little sort of double due date system going on, which is explained here. And I think I touch on it in the orientation video as well. But you can see the actual due dates laid out as we move through our first 8-week term here. So again, good idea to keep an eye on the due dates for a particular unit, but you can also sort of scan forward and see how they lay out for the rest of what we're doing. So we're going to jump into Unit 1 here. So Unit 1, like it says, pardon me, is mostly just about getting some basic things set up that we'll be using throughout our course, and also giving us the opportunity to kind of introduce ourselves to one another, not just you to me, but getting that sense of sort of like being in an actual class with other people, which is really important. So it's not really content related necessarily, but I think it's a really good way for us to start what we're doing. So again, as I mentioned in the orientation, you'll notice that many of our units are set up like this. We use the discussion board tool in Blackboard to kind of collect the work that we end up doing. The assignment itself is an embedded Google Doc that you can scroll through with step-by-step instructions, requirements, expectations. Often there'll be screenshots kind of pointing you to what button to click and what things to look for, et cetera, et cetera. So, you can read through all of that and then notice that because it's built as a discussion board, you're doing an initial post where you're kind of taking the work that's required here and then posting it, really just a link to the site that you'll be creating. And then notice that there is a reply component here. So the other thing that is good to keep in mind is instead of just sort of getting into a typical unit and then just kind of starting from the start and beginning the work as soon as you see it assigned, is to sort of scroll all the way through and just take a look at the scope of what's going on here. So are there multiple assignments to do? Do they look like they're going to take a lot of time? How many times do you want to sort of plan to come back into Blackboard and tackle the work? Is it better to do in a few smaller chunks or one sort of longer piece of time? There's no right answer for that. It all has to do with the way that you like to work and also what your timing and schedule is like. So the first thing that we're going to do is just set up using the new Google Sites Builder. Is everyone's going to build a website for themselves. It's actually fairly straightforward. And again, I've tried to walk people through with some screenshots and what to look for. We're going to use this portfolio throughout, or e-portfolio, throughout our course. So at the end of just about every unit, there's like a build out your portfolio piece where whatever we've done during that unit, you'll be adding into your portfolio. So it's actually really great to see it develop. But also at the end of our term, our 8-week term, it provides this really nice comprehensive look at all of the stuff that we've done, and we'll use it as part of our final activity as well. So we're just going to start by setting it up. That's really step 1. And then you're going to be doing a little About Me page. This it's going to end up being the first page because it's just the first one that we've done. You don't necessarily have to leave it as the first page in your portfolio. You can reorder things later. But for now, having this as your first page is just fine. So again, just a good opportunity to get people to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about, where you've been, where you're at right now, where you might be going, Pretty informal, but do develop it beyond just a couple of sentences. We want to get a sense of who's in the class with us. Also really important to provide a picture of yourself. Again, just good to feel like we're actually dealing with human beings here, putting faces to names as we go. Okay, so work your way through that, all explained. There's some readings on some key ideas or topics that I'll actually come back to in a later announcement. I don't want to get too deep into those right now. There's a quiz that's attached to these readings, or that reflects the readings. It's totally open book. You can retake it as many times as you want. The point is really not, like, I'm not a big quiz kind of a guy. It's not a quiz type of course. Is just to get you reading carefully and thinking about these various terms that are really going to inform everything we do from here on in. So we do a little quiz, again, retake it, open book, get things right. It's really not about memorizing the terms or memorizing definitions or whatever, but actually getting you to think about them. And then once we apply them in this unit and really in future units, that's kind of really the important part. Then there's a shared slide deck that's created. So everybody in our class is going to be working in the same Google slide deck. So be careful not to inadvertently erase somebody's work or apply a theme to the whole thing, because that'll affect not just your slide, but everybody else's too. So again, we can see it here, but you're going to access it just through the link so you can actually edit it. I suggest then signing in with your Google account. Again, one of the first things that you're asked to do as part of our course is to get a Google account if you don't have one already. If you already have one, that's perfectly fine. If you want to maybe build one for yourself that's more of a professional or school one as opposed to a personal one, you can do that. But you don't need to create a new one if you already have one. You don't want to double up if you don't want to. Okay, so you're going to access our slide deck and then do the assignment that's explained here. Pretty straightforward. Again, just sort of an application a little more particular to you and what you know about rhetorical situations and the larger discourse communities that those rhetorical situations exist in. And then everyone will do their own slide with some examples and explanations. So be careful working in there, when you create or when you start working in a new slide. But it's actually pretty cool to see it develop as each person adds their own work in there. Okay. Nothing that you have to post or do, like it's not a discussion board here. You're just working in the slide deck. And again, you need to either sign in and or make sure that your name is on the slide that you're working on. That's how I know who's done what for purposes of grading. All right. So that's our Unit 1 in a nutshell. Setting up our e-portfolio, basically creating our website, doing a first page, which is going to be like, where is it described here? The About Me page, just kind of introducing yourself, making sure you post the URL to your site here. Make sure you post the site for us to view and not to edit your site, right? Pretty straightforward. And then make sure that you come back in and do the reply part of it. So you're visiting other people's sites and again, replying to whatever their About Me page had to say. Maybe you have an interest in common, went to the same school, are going to the same school, same career interests, whatever it happens to be. It's pretty informal, but it doesn't mean it's just a 1 or 2 sentence kind of a quick thing. Some readings to do. They're relatively short, nothing super long here, but again, take some time. Depends on your comfort level with reading and comprehension. Again, the quiz to do, open book, do it as many times till you get them all right. And then more of a direct application of some of the terminology in the slide deck here. So not totally overwhelming, hopefully, although things can feel a little bit like that, I think, at the start of the term when everything's new and you're trying to park if you're on campus or get used to other classes or, kids going back to school like mine is doing on Wednesday. So there's just like a lot of moving parts, some of them not even related to COD at all. So always good to then remind ourselves of the due dates, okay? So that Thursday, August 23rd, everything in Unit 1 is due. The website, the About Me page, the readings in the quiz, and then your slide in the slide deck, and then any responses that are coming to those About Me pages, those would be due no later than Sunday. And of course, if you jump in on, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesday, and you notice that a few people have completed their About Me page, you can do your replies earlier than even this due date if there's enough stuff to reply to. So again, it's not like you have to wait until these days to do or to complete any of these, but they are pretty hard and fast due dates. So there's no late work. There's the course is kind of built to move us or scaffold us through these things. So you don't want to be getting behind. And again, I think there's ample time, again, in the 8-week format, so everything is sort of compacted there, to be getting the stuff done. You really have to sort of focus for these 8 weeks to stay on top of things. So due dates, Unit 1 in place. Make sure you've done this orientation bit and set up your Google account, and then you should be good to go. There's lots of ways to get in touch with me. The best is email. I'll try to respond pretty much immediately, even if it's just to say, I'm not at my computer right now. I can't answer that, but at least you'll know that you've, alerted me to something, and I'll get back with you soon. We can connect in person if you're on campus. Just send me an email. Again, we'll come up with a time that works for both of us. We can connect virtually if you're not close to campus, or schedules don't really allow you to get here at a reasonable time. Again, we just need to set up via email a time that works, and we can basically do like a video chat. The nice thing about this is the screen share option. So especially if you're having sort of technical difficulties, not just like content stuff, it's really great to screen share so I can see what you're clicking or what you're seeing, and you're not trying to describe, what error message you're getting in a text email to me. Okay, so if you see any mistakes in the course, that's always possible. Let me know and I'll fix those. If you just have questions, whether it's on the technical end or as we get a little bit deeper into the content side, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And we can go back and forth by email, set up a face-to-face meeting, or set up a virtual conference. And I will, if you're wondering why this is here, it's not a mistake. That I'm sure about. But I will certainly return to this little graphic that's part of our course banner here and explain why it's there as we get a little bit deeper into the course. You might be able to guess actually once you get through the readings for Unit 1, but I'll return to it later. Okay, so welcome to the class. I hope it is an enjoyable and purposeful one for you, and I will check back in a couple days. Any questions, don't hesitate to be in touch.